Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Melissa Harlow. Melissa Harlow, founder of Volunteer Voiceover, is an experienced voiceover talent and voiceover mentor on one of the largest freelance platforms. Melissa spent many years working and volunteering in nonprofit organizations like the American Red Cross, Blood Services, and organizations that helped women, children, families, communities, schools, and the fragile elderly. Well, good afternoon, Melissa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It is such a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. It's really all my pleasure because this is the thing that gets me going every single day of my life. It's awesome. And I appreciate you hailing out of the great state of California there in LA. I'm in Kansas City, so we'd love to get a little bit of distance on our podcast. So Melissa, let's just jump right into it. Can you share with us your journey from working and volunteering with nonprofit organizations to becoming a seasoned voiceover talent and mentor? What inspired you to bridge your passion for volunteering with your professional skills in voiceover?
Well, let's see. It kind of started in 2016. My husband and I quit our corporate jobs. I was working in a hospital. I've always worked in nonprofit. My degree's in psychology, so I was naturally drawn to that. And my dad got me into volunteering very early on in life. My husband and I decided to quit our jobs. We sold everything, and we made a plan to buy a sailboat and sail down the coast of Mexico across the Pacific Ocean and, sail all the islands. And then when we were done with that, we decided to sell the boat and buy an RV. And then we traveled around the United States and went up through Canada and Alaska. And then our end plan was to come home and rent the RV. But we had no jobs when we came home. So I decided to, because I had done so much blogging and, about our adventures, I thought to myself, well, I can certainly do voiceover. So I said, I'm going to try. And that's kind of how it all happened.
Thank you. I appreciate the backstory. I love that. And at the end of the day, my grandfather told me it doesn't take age to retire or travel. It takes money, right? So, but you followed your passion. I really like that. And we're going to talk a little bit about more on the volunteer voiceover here. So the concept, Melissa, of volunteer voiceover is quite innovative. Could you talk to us about the moment or series of events that led you to realize the need for a platform dedicated to connecting rising voice talents with nonprofit organizations?
Such a good question. When I became a little bit more proficient and I would say a little bit more professional with my voiceover and my skills, it's very technical, by the way, I decided that it was time for me to give back and volunteer. So I reached out to a handful of places and I saw a broadcast on CNN about these young women who were doing some food recovery. And I thought, oh my goodness, these girls are amazing. I want to volunteer my voice. Of course, I was thinking, of course they're going to want that. And of course they did, but they really didn't know how to go about, getting me to volunteer my voice. It was a little confusing for them. And 2 years later, we still had not gotten a plan together to volunteer. So literally after our conversation, and I realized this was going nowhere, I said, you know what? I'm going to buy this URL, Volunteer Voiceover, and I'm going to start a platform. And I'm going to take nonprofits who need a voiceover, and I'm going to put new beginners and rising talent of voiceover talent together. And we're going to work together and we're going to produce free things together because I know they need it. I was in nonprofit. I know that there are budgets, but there's never enough. And, one person does 5 things. So I thought to myself, okay, I'll use my experience with nonprofit, my experience with voiceover, and bam, there it is.
Love it. You combined your experience and your passion together, which really had an amazing outcome. I love that you found something that connect with that nonprofit community with a service that generally is always at the last of the line of budgeting things, right? So go ahead.
I was just going to say, it can be quite expensive.
Absolutely. We know how that is for sure. So thank you for sharing that and bringing this to light. Melissa, with the evolving landscape of voiceover work requiring talents to have a broad set of technical skills, how do you see the role of volunteer voice work changing in the future? And what skills do you think are most crucial for rising voice talents to develop?
Well, I think there's a fear in our industry about synthetic voices, of course. And so right now, really the most important thing is to be able to be natural. And it is the most difficult thing to do is to be natural because you get in front of a microphone and somehow you change. You don't, it's difficult. You want to be somebody else. You want to be a character. But what is, popular now is natural. And this is how, we can combat the synthetic voice because they're not natural. And we're people. We have human emotions and, it requires a certain amount of shifting and pivoting and breathing and all those things that make us human. So you're going to have to be just natural is the best way I can put it. And you have to have a really good recording space. You cannot get over that. Many places can be a good recording space, and you have to have good equipment, and you have to get trained. You have to have a coach. So those are the things that really any voiceover future talent needs to know. And within each one of those, there's about 1 million things to know. But for anyone going into the voiceover arena, that's the most important thing.
Thank you. And I would add, just this goes, I think, for anything. And as you know, when you started this program, is just to get started as well. I think that's so important. But thank you for sharing that. I think that's awesome. And at the end of the day, the humans have the emotions and they will always basically trump any new artificial intelligence or generative conversational AI that we have produced today or in the future. I really do think that. So, Melissa, last question of the day. Finally, for someone interested in voiceover work, either as a career or as a way to volunteer, what advice would you give them to get started? And how can they make the most of the platform like Volunteer Voiceover to hone their skills and contribute meaningfully?
Oh, that's such a dynamic question. I would say, I don't have a stat for you, but I would say, just my experience, so many voiceover artists are second career people. These are people who've already had a career. They have a lot of wisdom. They have a lot of experience and life skills. So some go into it thinking, oh, this is going to be a breeze. But the first thing you've got to do is practice. You have to practice to make sure that you want to do this because you have to have a passion for it because it's difficult. It takes a while for you to improve and get your skills and work and that sort of thing. And you have to make a plan. You have to create a good, solid business plan because being a voice artist is a business. It's a small business. So those three things, you've got to practice, you have to have the passion, and you have to make a plan. And our VVO, our volunteer voiceover, really gives new talent a way to practice the skills that they're learning and also connect with colleagues and professionals that are already in the field. And when I was starting as a voice talent, I wish I had something like this. I would have done it in a heartbeat. It's a membership platform, and the voice talent pay a small fee. It's like $7 a month to be a member. And, they have access to working with nonprofits that are in the industry that need help and they're able to give back. They're also able to connect with colleagues and resources and coaches and all those different things. And, we're not going to squeeze money out of anybody. So it's just a wonderful platform to trust, and nonprofits want to trust who they're working with. And so do the new voice talents. And I really am glad that I'm doing this because I'm somebody that can be trusted. But, people can always go to organizations like the National Association of Voice Actors, and they have up to the moment, what's going on in voiceover. So, but VVO, Volunteer Voiceover, is an excellent way for new beginners to kind of put their toes in the water.
Thank you. And I love you brought some of those things together, the 3 Ps, right? You got to have that passion, planning. Gosh, I just lost the practice. I'm sorry. Practice makes perfect. But those 3
Hear
Ps,
yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Those 3 Ps are so important, but you really have kind of put the icing on the cake here for us is, having that resource where people can come together and learn and grow and do something that they're really passionate about. So I appreciate the share on that. Melissa, it was such a pleasure having you on today, and I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
I feel just blessed that I'm on your podcast, and I appreciate everything that you do.
Thanks so much, and bye for now.